is just a little video about children in spirit. I get asked a lot about how babies sort of, whether they grow up or not. All babies grow up in spirit. Some more than others. I don't really know why. I don't really think anybody knows why they're definite. But they all seem to grow to at least the age of 6. That sort of age range. They look about around that sort of age. Some grow up to be 20. You know, it just completely depends. Also, it could be because spirit can appear any way they want to appear. So they could appear to be a 6-year-old, then appear to be a 60-year-old. So that could be another reason. It's so much easier to see spirit children than it is to see adults in spirit. It's because they're purer as well and things like that. But they might be showing themselves as children because it's easier to communicate with them. I know that I find communicating with children a lot easier, and it's almost like they're attracted to me, because like I probably get 50% children. So that could be another reason. Yeah, they seem to, you know, even from miscarriages and abortions, they'll grow up. And I often see my big sister as a little girl, and she's about 6. But I sometimes see her as about 12. It just depends on how they want to be perceived. But she seems at her most comfortable when she's around 6. But yeah, if they died, it seems to be a little bit different if they've died at a certain age. So, because obviously my sister was a miscarriage, then she's had to grow up completely. Whereas a couple of children that I've come across recently, they died at 2 and 3, so they're going to stay at 2 and 3. Or at least some of their energy will stay at 2 and 3, so you'll see them sort of residual at 2 or 3. So they don't really grow up in my mind's eye, but if I saw them with my eyes, I'd probably see them a bit older. So in my visions, they're the right age, but when I see them, if they're not residual, then they're going to be older. But they can appear any age they want to appear. That's why demons and things can look so scary, because they can appear to be as disgustingly ugly or as pretty as they want to appear. So, you know, if a demon wants to scare you, he's not going to look like an angel, is he? Though angels are completely different subject. But yeah, that's basically it. Babies all grow up. Every single baby in spirit grows up. And they've got to, really, because everybody who dies goes to the spirit world. And, well, not everyone who dies goes to the spirit world, because some people don't want to. And that may be because they've done something bad and they're scared of hell, or they don't want to see other people who are already there, things like that. There's plenty of reasons why people don't go. What was I going to say? So yeah, that some people don't go to the spirit world, but everybody who does, they sort of have unfinished business. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's true. Because most people have already been here before, although you do get some that haven't been here before. I've been here loads of times. I've been a psychic a couple of times, a witch once or twice, a Native American twice, a German, a spy, all sorts. But most people have been here before, and they've sort of chosen to have their life that they've got. So they'll have unfinished business before they can move on to their next life, and that can take years. absolutely years. You know, it's sort of like learning lessons, and if you haven't learnt them in the life that you've had, then you need to learn them in spirit before you can move on. So some people don't move on because they won't learn the lessons, and that's where demons and things come in. And you have to go really quite far down the spectrum before you get to that level. But that is what happens, and if you don't move on, or you refuse to move on, then you can't sort of progress on to the next life until you've learnt the lesson that you were supposed to learn from it. So everybody's got to grow up, and everybody's got to learn things until they can move on. So babies are going to grow, and people are going to grow, but not grow on the outside, grow on the inside, if you get what I mean. So yeah, they've sort of got to. It's almost like there's an unwritten rule. But you know, children can get lost. It's very rare, but I came across a little girl about a year ago when I first started to really accept what I was doing. I've been doing it a long time, but I didn't really accept it until about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I came across this little girl called Bethy, and I'm not going to go into details, but she's 7, I think she's 7, and she was murdered in Origin, and she came to me on the 60th anniversary of her death, and she stayed with me for nearly a year, and she was constantly, for about 4 months, constantly, all she would say was, "Can you find my mummy? Can you find my mummy?" Poking me in the back, kicking me, just generally being a little bugger. Can you find my mummy? Where's my mummy? Find my mummy, la la la, you know. She was very sort of, she was a young 7. She wasn't like most 7-year-olds today. She was quite a young 7. And she'd been murdered, so when she went to the spirit world, she was kind of disorientated. Although she did stick around, she didn't cross over for a good few days. She didn't cross over until the body was found about 16 days later or something like that. But when she did cross over, she couldn't find anybody, and because it all happened quite slowly, the people that would have been there were had sort of given up waiting, if you get what I mean. I know that sounds really bad, but she just couldn't find anybody, and somehow, I don't know how it happened, but she came to England, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, and came to a young psychic girl who didn't really know what she was doing at that point. And yeah, so, "Can you find my mummy? Can you find my mummy?" And eventually I did, with some help from other psychics. And they're back in Origin now, so I don't see her anymore. It felt like I'd lost a leg when she went, because like, she'd been around me for so long, and she played with my little sister a lot as well. So it was hard when she left. She left about 6 months ago now. But yeah, I'm going to go, when I go on tour to America, I'm going to go and visit her grave and things like that, because yeah, we were very close. I know that sounds silly, but I don't really care. But I see, when I do see her, and that's very occasionally now, she's a 7-year-old, so because she was murdered, she stayed the same age as what she would have been then. She hasn't moved on. But that could be for a couple of reasons. It could be because that's where she wants to be perceived. It could be because that's what she's most comfortable in, that sort of era. Or it just could be because she can't, because she was murdered. I don't know. But yeah, all miscarried babies and all aborted babies, and all stillborn babies, they all grow. They all grow up until they're the children. And if they haven't been named, Spirit gives them a name. So they're not sort of little lost souls. if they haven't got any family on the other side, which is very rare because mostly they do, then somebody will take them on and teach them things. And you know, babies don't just learn to talk just like that in spirit. They've watched people talk down here, or they've watched people talk in spirit. So they learn to talk, they learn to read and write. You know, it's really quite sweet when you think about it. But every single baby is looked after in spirit, and every single baby has a name, whether you've given them or not. But yeah, that's it really. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.